In Central American countries, the president was joined on stage by Representative Ron DeSantis, who's running for governor here in Florida, and by the current governor, Rick Scott, who's running for Senate. High praise among those three. Of course, the president is popular in the state of Florida. He has a 47% approval rating. He calls it his second home. Ultimately, whether those candidates succeed in Tuesday's election or not may be a referendum on how well the president is doing in the Sunshine State. Boris Sanchez, CNN, traveling with the president in Pensacola, Florida.
Political analyst Peter Mathews joins us now. He teaches political science at Cypress College. Peter, far more people have voted early than at the same point in 2014, all right? Millions more. It's a big difference. What do you think that tells us, if anything?
It tells us it's a very critical election and everyone's fired up on both sides, but the stakes are very, very high for both sides as well. If Democrats win the House, the president stands to see all of his agenda completely blocked, and worse than that, he could be actually facing impeachment charges, which would really set him back. If Democrats lose, then the Republicans and the president have a huge amount of momentum to do whatever they want, basically, and it doesn't look too good like the way the trajectory of those type of actions would be for the country right now. So this is a huge, huge election. Maybe the most, without being overstating it, it's the most important election in a generation, at least, Cyril.
So, who do you think? Which party do you think should take heart of these increased early voting numbers? Does it help the Democrats or the Republicans more?
Usually, Republicans vote early and Democrats vote more so in the polls. But things have been changing in recent elections, and both sides have been voting early as well. A lot of young people, though, and Latino voters as well, who vote Democratic, do like to vote on election day. That's going to be a boost for them. Now, there are also some Trump voters who don't normally vote, and this time they may get fired up because of Trump's rhetoric about the caravan. And don't forget that caravan rhetoric also was connected to what that murderer who killed 11 Jewish people in the synagogue used the same word, caravan of invaders, that Trump used. So Trump's got people fired up in a sort of negative way, but it's also for his own base. Some voters don't normally vote. He's trying to get them to vote this time around. They might actually turn out. So on election day, it'll be a huge turnout, despite the fact that early voting is also very large right now.
Do you get the impression that Donald Trump is actually fighting to keep control of the House? I ask you this because if you look at the pattern, if you look at the places where he's been holding rallies, he is not stumping in the places where there are the most contested races. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, half the races are right there in suburban communities where typically his message doesn't go across that well. He's not going to those places.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to make sure that he keeps the Senate and maybe even expands the Senate. That's why he's going to the red states, which are small in population, which tend to be very conservative, almost arch-conservative right-wing, his base supporters, and he's giving up basically on some of the swing districts that he couldn't appeal to anyway in New Jersey and places for Congress, for the House. I think that he's given up on the House pretty much, but he's going to make sure he holds on to the Senate, because if he loses both, he faces real big problems for himself and for people, his allies as well. So I think that's an interesting phenomenon you're observing, Cyril.
All right, take me back to the scenario that you were mentioning, sorry, at the beginning of the conversation. The one that polls currently predict, and I know we have to be very careful with them, but currently, big picture, the polls say the Republicans lose the House, keep the Senate, maybe even win some seats in the Senate. If that happens, then what then for the Trump presidency?
Well, it gets blocked in many of his attempts to bring in more tax cuts, for example, which he has already done to shot the deficit up. He's going to try to get more of it. That'll get blocked. Some of his executive orders might get overturned possibly by Congress, and there'll be a lot of investigations going on. The members in the House, on the Judiciary Committee, especially other committees as well, will get into investigating him. They might even go after his tax returns. They might even look at some things like the emoluments clause. What's going on if he's violated that? He's definitely on grounds for impeachment. If he has taken money, profit-making from his private hotels, which there already is a court case on that, the Democrats will certainly bring that up in their hearings and get the whole country to know about it. If his tax returns are made public, that could be really crucial. So we'll have to see what happens here. And I think it's not a standard election. Normally what happens is candidates hire pollsters. Pollsters find out what the voters want to be told, and then they target mailing or do targeted television ads to their audiences specifically. This is more of a nationalized, broad-based appeal that Trump is using just for his base, though. He's going out there and swinging like a baseball player for a home run for his base. No matter what happens, if he loses other people, he doesn't really care because he wants to hold on to the Senate key for him, so he doesn't get removed. Don't forget, the Senate can impeach, not just impeach him, the House can impeach him, but the Senate can actually remove him. He wants to hold on to the Senate at all costs. it's still going to be bad news for him if the House goes to the Democratic side.
And Peter Mathews with us from Los Angeles. Always appreciate talking to you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Cyril.